Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Haley, and I'm going to be talking about how I set goals in my hobonichi cousin. Now, I got really nerdy with this and decided to do some research into how to effectively set goals. So if you're just here for the hobonichi cousin planning portion, I'll put the timestamp in the description that you can skip to if you just want to see the planner stuff. But if you want to learn how to set more effective goals for yourself, then just keep watching. So this is the time of year that I always find myself looking into the next year, thinking about how I want to set goals, how I want any sort of habits I want to try to do in the new year, basically just how I want the new year to look. And now you can do this any time of year. It doesn't have to be, New Year. And in fact, if there's a change you want to make, I recommend you go on and work on it and don't just say, I'm gonna do that on New Year or whatever. That usually doesn't work very well. If you're watching this in June, don't feel like you have to wait or anything. But I always see New Year, and I know it's illogical, but I see New Year as a fresh start. I know it's not, I'm the same person. New Year, new me, no, it's the same me, but it feels like a little bit of a fresh start. So I got to thinking about goals that I have accomplished in the past, goals I haven't accomplished, and sort of the difference there. So I decided to do some research into what makes a goal an effective goal. And I thought a good place to start with this would be SMART goals. Now, you've probably heard of SMART goals. A lot of universities and, employers use this with their employees. So you've probably heard of these, but in case, let's just go over it because I think it's a great place to start. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So let's go a little more into that. The S stands for specific, and that means that you have the goal written down, or in your mind, I guess, exactly as you want to achieve it, and you have some steps on how you can achieve it. So let me give some examples here of a goal that is not specific versus a goal that is specific. And I've decided to use the goal of reading more books in a year as examples for all of these. So a specific goal would be, I'm going to read 20 books this year. Whereas a non-specific goal would be, I want to read more this year. And that actually gets into the second point, which is measurable. So that means that there should be data that you can look over to measure how well you are or are not achieving the goal. So an example of this one would be, I want to spend more time reading. Okay, how is that? It's not measurable. Again, what does more time mean? So a measurable version would be, I want to read 1 hour a day, or 5 hours a week, or a certain number of pages a week. Anything that you can actually track is helpful. The A stands for achievable. So that means that your goal is realistic to achieve. Now, we will talk about later how important it is to aim high in these goals, but they don't need to be unrealistic because that's how you get discouraged and quit. So this might be, I'm gonna read 1,000 books this year. Probably not achievable for most people. If that is your goal, like, more power to you. It is not my goal, and I will not achieve that. So to me, a more realistic goal is I'll read 100 books this year, and that is my goal for next year. Now the R, that stands for relevant. And I think this actually might be the most important of the SMART acronym. Relevant means that the goal matches up with your overall goals, kind of how, your overall image of yourself, overall what you want to be and what you want to achieve. So I think an example of a goal that's not relevant would be, I want to read 100 books this year because my favorite YouTuber did it. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not going to motivate you. What if you might get a different favorite YouTuber next year? So a goal that would be achievable because it's relevant to me personally is, I want to read 100 books because I want to broaden my knowledge. So that's a goal that's relevant to me overall versus something that isn't really relevant to my overall goals. Now the T stands for time bound, and that means that you're giving yourself a time frame to accomplish this goal. Now my goals are usually yearly goals at this time, but they are broken up into smaller goals that are monthly or daily. So it doesn't have to be a full year goal. You could have a goal for a week, sometimes that's actually a really great way to kickstart something, like, I'm going to read every day for a week. You're not looking at the full year, you're breaking it down into smaller pieces. Oh, I can do that. I can read every day for a week. Like, yes, I can get that done. So Time bound just means you can put an end time on it. And it doesn't mean you're going to necessarily accomplish the full goal in that time, but you know, you can have worked towards it in a measurable way in the time frame. I decided I wanted to do a little further research than just the SMART goals. I felt like there was probably more out there. So what I found was this study that was published in 1968 by Edwin A. Locke, Toward a Theory of Task, Motivation, and Incentives. Now, usually whenever you're, doing research, you want to find something that's a lot more modern than 1968. But from what I found, it's still seen highly as a really good study. So I decided to look at it. And unfortunately, I am no longer a student in any university. So I do not have access to the databases. And I was only able to read the abstract because I really did not want to pay for the article. I'm sorry, I'm sure it's great. And I would love, love, love to read it, but I'm not going to pay for it. But, the abstract did what any good abstract does, and it summarized the research. Hard goals produce a higher level of performance than easy goals. I always thought, just throw a few really easy goals in there so you feel good about yourself. You're going to accomplish it, so let's just check it off the list. That's not always the best thing to do. You will be more productive if you aim a little bit higher than something you already know you can accomplish, which makes sense, because why would you even set a goal if you know you're going to accomplish it? You're not really going to grow that way. The second one ties back into the S on SMART goals. It is that specific goals will produce a better outcome than the try your best goal. But we already know that from SMART goals. So Edwin Locke, the man who published that study, in 1990 published a book with Dr. Gary Latham, and they furthered the ideas of how to set effective goals. And they found 5 primary ways to set an effective goal. Now, some of these are covered in SMART goals, some of them are not. The first is clarity. That seems pretty similar to specific, so no need to talk about it. Now, the second is challenge, and this is not covered in SMART goals. And this is that a goal that is challenging is more likely to be achieved and to produce a productive output that you're looking for. But you should, of course, balance that so that it's still attainable. Don't set this ridiculously high goal and think you're going to achieve it. No, but maybe don't set a goal you already know you're going to achieve. Somewhere in the middle. Number 3 is commitment. And that sort of ties into relevant to me. Commitment is basically how you're going to continue to motivate yourself to meet the goal. So it has to be relevant to something that you really want in order to achieve it. Number 4 is feedback, which, very similar to measurable. You have to be able to get feedback on the goal, see how well you are or are not doing, and apply that feedback to improve your progress. Number 5 is very important as well, and I think a lot of people don't think about this. It is task complexity, and that means you need to consider the effort that it takes to put into the tasks that you have set as your goals. And this is important because I think a lot of times people just set really high goals without realistically looking at their life, what they already have to do, and that not realistically looking at the steps that it takes to accomplish a goal and saying, do I have time for this or not? There is a goal like that from last year that I ended up dropping, and I'll talk about that just one second. There's one last thing that I found incredibly interesting. That is a book by Carol Dweck. It is called Mindset: The New Psychology of Success, and I have it on hold from my library, and I'm definitely going to read it as soon as I can. I'm really excited about it. Anyway, this book is about the growth mindset, and what the growth mindset is basically that your intelligence and your strengths and your talents are not fixed. A lot of times we think that whatever we're born with, that's all we have. I'm only so smart. I'm only so talented. I can only do so many things. I'm not good at this. I'm bad at math, blah, blah, blah. But Carol Dweck's point is that everything can grow. You can always expand your intelligence. You can always get better. And with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, with the growth mindset, you're more likely to take risks and make mistakes because you don't see those mistakes and setbacks as defining you. Whereas if you have a fixed mindset, the first thing that goes wrong, well, I knew it. I'm a failure. I'm bad at math. Of course I couldn't do that. I'm using bad at math because I'm bad at math, even while I'm telling you not to do that. Anyway, and I'm definitely planning on making a video, once I get to read this book. I'm so excited because I definitely have a fixed mindset. So I'm looking at how I can shift over to more of a growth mindset. And she also says that operating in a zone just outside your comfort zone is the best way to grow, which is sort of what we talked about with the setting challenging goals, where we don't find something too easy, but we don't find something we couldn't possibly ever attain. Finding something that's just going to stretch us and grow us just a little bit, just enough to not make us want to panic and curl up in our shells like a turtle, but isn't easy for us either. And that is the best way to grow. I like to take the time to journal, to reflect on my goals of the year before, so that I can decide which goals I want to carry over, which goals I accomplished, which ones I didn't, and what the difference was, and why I didn't accomplish some. And sometimes that's because I realized that the goal was not really for me. So an example of a goal that I decided not to continue this year was learning French. Now, I was doing Duolingo. I actually went to France last summer, and I did Duolingo every day up until that trip to France. I didn't think I was going to remotely learn French. Don't get me wrong. I knew that my couple years on Duolingo was not really going to teach me much. But I still did it. And sure enough, I got to France. Everyone spoke to me in English. And I realized, which I had always realized, but I think I had willfully decided not to think about, was that I was never going to take the actual amount of time to learn French. Well, I don't mean never. I mean right now. So those Duolingo lessons I was doing every day, they were kind of fun, but honestly, I would get really frustrated and I would get really angry whenever I would use all my lives without being able to get through a level, and I wouldn't be able to maintain my streak, and I would just get so frustrated. And really, the stress wasn't worth it. If it was joyful, if I enjoyed learning languages, which I did enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy the frustration of not being able to keep my streak up. And there's really no reason to get that stressed out about that. So I decided to drop that goal for this year. Not saying I'll never do Duolingo again, or that I'll never learn French in the future. And in fact, it's something that I might want to invest in an actual French class someday. But the method of using Duolingo every day, stressing myself out, it wasn't worth it. What if I took those 15 minutes and read before bed instead? Wow, that was a lot of rhyming without meaning to. All right, now I am going to show you how I actually set the goals in my hobonichi cousin. And of course, you don't have to have a hobonichi cousin to do this. You can do this in any notebook, but I'm showing you specifically how I do it in here. Now, the page where I like to set goals is on the Turning the Page to a New Year section, and it flips right to it because this is the only thing I've done in the notebook. And that is between the weekly pages and the daily pages. Like so much of the research says, the goals need to be relevant to your own overall goals, and you need to be committed to achieving them. And there's really nothing anyone outside of yourself can do to motivate you to achieve your goals more than you can yourself. So with that in mind, I designed this page on the left here. And this is what I want. This is why I want to achieve these goals. These aren't necessarily something I'm going to have done in a year. Some of them hopefully will be, but these are just what I want overall. And the hope is that this will motivate me to, continue with these goals. And I also included this quote that, this seems ridiculous because it is from Gossip Girl, the 2010s version, not the one that's on TV now. I haven't watched that one. But it's, sometimes you need to step outside, get some air, and remind yourself of who you are and where you want to be. And I think that is exactly what I want this page to be. It's just a reminder of what I want to do and be. So let me show you last year's really quick, actually, because you're going to see a difference here because I put a lot of colors into this spread. All right, so this was last year's spread. It's not very aesthetically pleasing. It's not colorful. There's nothing that draws my eye here. And it's actually really hard to find the turning the page to a new year page, I've noticed. So yeah, it's bland, it's blah. The first couple of months, I would rewrite the monthly goals on this page, but that very quickly dropped out. So I rarely looked at this, even though the plan was to look at it a lot. So something else I changed, I took out the quarterly goals, because as nice as it would be, I never did a quarterly reflection over whether or not I'd accomplished the goals. So, yeah. Oh, and this is the cover I'm going to be using for this one as well. And I think the colors match the cover so well. So I'm excited about that. I'm just reusing this cover next year because I'm kind of obsessed with it. You'll see here that I broke the goals into year, month, week, and day. Some of these I couldn't figure out a weekly goal for, but I might think of something and, fill in there. But my why side, so let's talk about the one for reading. I want to read a wide variety of books to educate myself, get inspiration for my own writing, and experience diverse stories. So that's a reminder of who I want to be. I want to be someone who reads a lot. But so this is what I decided to do for my reading goals. I'm doing 100 books in the year, hopefully. That was my goal for this year, and I think I'm going to accomplish it. So I wanted to stretch myself even further, get outside my comfort zone a little bit, and I want to do 10 classics, 10 nonfiction books, and 10 books that are 500 plus pages. And this last one is because I got on Storygraph and looked at my statistics and realized I did not read very many books that were more than 500 pages. So I think that might be nice to try next year. And this, it's not like these could all be the same book. Like I could read a classic book that's nonfiction, that's 500 plus pages, and that would count for, all these categories. So then I broke it down into months. So that's roughly 9 books a month. And I went on and put 1 classic, 1 nonfiction, and 1 book that's 500 plus pages. These would all actually get me more than the goal, but it's aim high. And then the week, it's roughly 2 books. And then the day goal was read every day. So I think that's broken down really well. Now health, social media. So my health goal, this actually is showing how I'm not even listening to my own advice for some of this, because, my goal for the year is to maintain a healthy diet, which is exactly what I said not to do because it's not specific and it's not measurable. However, I do not want to put a certain number on my diet. It ends up feeling really restrictive and I get frustrated. So I'm not at all interested in saying, don't eat this or eat a lot of this. I did put here in the weekly section, prioritize vegetables and protein. Again, that's not specific, it's not measurable, but it is showing me the mindset. But I'm not going to get restrictive about it. Now, I also have exercise goals, and that was to follow the CDC guidelines for cardio exercise. And this is supposedly what it'll help you, improve your heart and live longer and blah, 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 all that stuff. So that is 150 minutes of moderate cardio a week or 75 minutes of intense cardio per week. So I used to have lots of goals about running, and I'm going to run this much. And I still do want to run and enjoy all that, but I don't want to have a specific goal that is based only on running, because I don't know if I'll do it. I lose interest in running really easily. So I want to still be able to meet a goal without having to necessarily stick with the same exercise. So that's why I went with the minutes, and that is measurable, unlike the maintain a healthy diet one. Now, of course, my social media is just how many posts I want to do. The thought process here is I'll post at least 2 videos a month. I would like to do more, but I don't know. And then for the week, I'm trying to post at least 2 Instagram posts. And my reasoning for that is because I'm supposed to be reading 2 books a week. So if I do 1 post for each book, that's going to come out to 2 posts per week. And then my daily was just come up with creative ideas for content and create content. So that's also kind of about getting into a mindset of creativity. trying to do that each day. And again, this one's not measurable, but it's more of a mindset base. Now, this one is very important to me. I want to train Stella, my dog, to be a well-behaved companion I can trust in a variety of situations. Stella is 11 months old and she's lovely, but we have so far to go with training and all of that. So my overall yearly goal is for her to get her Canine Good Citizen certification. And that is a test that you can take that has different items on it. That's just basically what you'd expect a dog to be able to do. They have to greet a friendly stranger without jumping on them, stay calm in the presence of another dog, stuff like that. Now, she's supposed to take this test sometime in the spring. I have a feeling we might be failing it the first time, which is fine because she's a puppy. She's excitable. The part that I think we're going to fail is, hold on, speaking of her, she's chewing on something. Stella, don't do that, baby. She was, of course, chewing on my laptop charger. Anyway, okay, so yeah. I don't think she's going to be able to maintain her composure around another dog, so I have a feeling we're going to be failing this test. But that's okay. She's a puppy. She's excitable. We'll get there. So that's the year goal, even though, again, it's supposed to be done in the spring, but it's probably going to take longer. So for the month, that's reflect on commands and tricks. What I mean there is I want to, once a month, do sort of an inventory of where she is and where I want her to be. And I will probably create some kind of template or something like that that I can share at a later date once I've created that. I don't know if that'd be helpful. And then I don't know what to do like specifically for the week, once a week, but I have every day around 15 minutes of training per day. And that's really what they recommend, especially for dogs her age. She's a puppy. And that's like 3 5-minute sessions is the plan. So, yeah. And now this is my financial goals. Yeah, you can see that. It's not super interesting. My reasoning for picking this colorful spread, like I'm not an artist or anything, but I wanted this to be pretty, and it's not perfect, and I spent way too long drawing these stupid little boxes, but the fact that it's colorful and color-coded makes me want to look at it some more. So the point of this is keep this kind of within my mind's eye to check. Now, I have ADHD, and something that is pretty common with those of us with ADHD is the idea of out of sight, out of mind. We can really struggle to remember something unless we're looking at it. It's why we often let food rot in our refrigerator, because if we put it in a drawer in the back, we won't see it and we'll totally forget it's there. So I want my goals to be more visible to me. And not only did I choose to make this colorful and pretty, let me show you what else I have. So I made these to put on my monthly calendars. And this is just a reminder of the goals that I want to set. I didn't put all of them on there because I don't necessarily need a reminder for all of those. Like for Stella, I do not need a reminder to train her because every time she's bad, I train her. So don't need that reminder. And also this health one, that's actually like the weekly goal. But I didn't want to make 52 of these to put on each week, so it's gonna be a monthly. So let's start with January. Back here. Okay. Goodness. Okay. January. Okay. And I made these on Procreate to size them to fit in this little sidebar there. It's not totally perfect. I cut them out with an X-Acto knife, and I'm not very exact. We'll just leave it at that. So I've got my little tape dispenser thingy here. Hold on one second. Let me get the tape on. All right. And now this is like apparently super permanent, so be careful. I'm gonna stick it. Okay. Aha, nice. so there's that. I have a bunch more of these that I'm gonna stick on every page. You probably don't want to just watch me do that. Seems a little bit boring. Now I do have one more thing to make this more aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to color code these using the same colors that I have here. Okay, so my reading goal. Great. My health goals, those are orange. And these are my Tombow brush pens. Great. Now social media. That one's yellow. And my finance is purple. All right, so this is a little bit less out of sight, out of mind. You know, every month when I turn to the monthly page, I will see my goals right there. I think that will be very helpful. And let's see. Another thing I was doing last year was I was using like the first page here, like this is the January page. I was using it to list my goals, and then I found I was not really, I was never going back to this page. I had no reason to. Like I said, out of sight, out of mind. I never thought about it until the end of the month when I would think, oh, did I accomplish my goals? And then I'd be like, I don't remember my goals. And I would look and I'd be like, no, I didn't do that. And then I'd beat myself up. So we don't need to do that. We're being kind to ourselves here. So I think that giving myself the reminder on the monthly view is going to be a lot more helpful. I do use this a lot because I'll put in like appointments here. So I check this a lot more than I would randomly look at the first page of the weekly section. Now, another part that's important about this process is sort of the feedback part, the measurable part. And that is something I'm still working on. I would like to design a printable page that I can just stick in the back of each month where I just reflect over how I did on my goals. It's going to be hard though, because, you know, here's January 31st, and then February 1st starts on the next page. So if I am going to stick in a page reflecting on January, I guess I would have to do it here between the 30th and the 31st. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it, but yeah, I really do want to add more in about reflection. There's so much space in here. There's probably somewhere else I could do it. Honestly, I rarely use the space like down here. So maybe I could write, it's very small, but maybe, or even like the rest of this here, I wanted this to be open so that I can always add on more goals if I want to. But you know, I could also use this as reflecting on the goals that I have done. So I don't know. I'm sure I'll post a video on how I actually do use this once I really get into it. So we'll see how the goal setting thing goes. And yeah, I think that's all that I have to talk about. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope this gave you some inspiration on how you can set goals. Now, like I said, we're being kind to ourselves. So if you don't accomplish your goals, don't beat yourself up. Any sort of progress is good progress. Just keep that growth mindset where your personality and your intelligence are not fixed. You can always improve. And even if you mess up, you just see that as a learning opportunity. I know that's really easy to say when I'm not, you know, when it's not you in that situation. But, you know, Carol Dweck says that every time you fail, there's the success is that you tried something new, basically. So just keep that in mind. Be nice to yourself. I'm not one of these like super powerful go-getter, goal-setter kind of people. This is just what I'm doing in an attempt to, you know, be the person I want to be. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. or let me know how you set goals, or if you set goals, if you're using the cousin, if you're using something else. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.